Okay, well, I was born and raised in Goshen. 58 years old now, just about 59. I turned 59 on January 1st, so I was a New Year's baby. So I've spent my whole life in Goshen. Got involved in politics when I was 25 years old, got on the city council, served on the city council for 16 years, and then was elected mayor in 1997 and have served since then. Went to Goshen College, graduated in the early 70s. Have been married for 30 years, have two sons, one's 16 years old, he's a sophomore at Goshen High School, and one is just about 21 and he's a junior at Manchester College. Well, we don't have any plans for significant changes. We've made some good progress in the last 10 years towards improving neighborhoods and trying to make a livable city and have a nice downtown and do some of those things, and we intend for those things to continue. We have an emphasis on sidewalks and bike paths and quality of life issues, and we don't plan for any major changes in the next 10 years. We just kind of want to continue on the same direction we've been going. Well, absolutely, but the question is, what is immigration reform going to be? I absolutely believe that we need to fix the immigration system so that we can supply the labor that we need and make sure that people aren't looking over their shoulder and they can fully integrate in society. I don't know what the correct answers are to immigration either, except that the system's got to be easier to work through so that people can get the documentation that they need to work and then integrate in our communities.
And with that in mind, how do you think that we as a Hispanic community contribute to Goshen? How do you think we can better our Goshen community?
I think that there's a group of Hispanic churches that have been working at that issue. I think there are a growing number of Hispanic groups, Hispanic Latino groups that are working on how to help the community. I think that being involved with the lives of our youth, Latino Hispanic youth who seem not to be connected to school as well as they ought to be connected, the more interest that we can show in that and try to show them positive directions, I think the better. Somehow plugging in with the Community Relations Commission, and the Community Relations Commission is working on ways to outreach into the community too. So any positive examples, any positive things that can be done, but especially with youth, and trying to make sure that gang issues don't continue, that we can get a handle on that. We absolutely have to have Hispanic and Latino adults there helping us with that. Well, the city doesn't have anything yet. I mean, the police department has a couple people that work at gang issues, but we don't have any specific programs. I know Joe Guerrero is working on trying to develop something and has had some fits and starts with that. But beyond that, the city itself doesn't have a program. Well, I like burritos. They're my favorites. I only recently became familiar with tamales. You know, I like tamales, but burritos are still my favorite. Tacos and burritos, and hacienda is just not normal Mexican food. But we have some good examples of restaurants in Goshen that I enjoy eating at. And certainly they're all different kinds of burritos. So,
Yeah.
but that's my favorite.
Do you have any favorite sports now?
Well, I'm still a football fan, not soccer, but football.
Right. Do you have a college? Do you do the national?
Well, my favorite college team is probably Purdue. And as far as professional football, it would be the Indianapolis Colts or the Chicago Bears, but the Indianapolis Colts.
Who are you going for in this bowl?
The Colts. Oh, College Bowl? Woo! Who's playing in the #1-2 game?
I heard it was Hawaii and Oklahoma, but not quite sure.
I really don't care in that one.
Right.
I don't care.
I know Indiana was mentioned there, but...
Oh, Indiana's pretty far down the list. Yeah. Go through the process to get their documentation. I know it's a long and involved process, but to do whatever they can to be fully integrated in the community. I know that sometimes at our workplaces, people claim more exemptions than they ought to claim. Maybe don't file their income taxes when they ought to file them, and we encourage people to go through the process and try to be fully integrated. I know that the driver's licenses are an issue right now, and the state isn't helping at all with that. But as much as they can, try to understand that that's not a law that the local police can just turn a blind eye to. You know, if I've stood in front of groups and said that if I can be arrested for driving without a license, so can anybody else. And we hope that they understand that we have to do that if they're driving without a license. And so if they can arrange more not to do that, whether that's by carpooling or taking public transportation or what other kinds of arrangements they can, to try to live within the law as much as they can while they're here, and continue to work to try to change. I realize it's hard to change the system when you're not part of the system, but try to continue to influence that, and be participants in the kinds of community conversations that Community Dialogues does and the Community Relations Commission sponsors. I guess that's it. I know it's a very, very difficult situation, and the schools grapple with it, and the community grapples with it, and we're trying to walk kind of a tight line between people who just don't understand at all, and they want to get rid of all minorities, and then on the other side of the divide we got people who want to open their arms and welcome everybody and just not worry about enforcing the law. And we got to find a line somewhere in the middle and help both sides understand each other. So you know, it's a difficult situation not only for Hispanics but also Anglos to deal with. We've got a person elected to the city council this year that thinks that our police department ought to be trained to enforce federal immigration law. And we think that's a diversion from other things that the police need to be doing. So trying to find an answer that everybody's comfortable with is no easier in Goshen than it is in the whole country. And so it's a balancing act that we're still trying to find the answer to. Well, one thing we've not done is something that some other communities have done and passed laws that hold landlords and employers accountable if they rent to or if they employ undocumented people. We're not taking any public actions that are designed to be unfriendly to minorities, Hispanics and Latinos. We have talked with our state legislators about the fact that if people are going to be here working, if the federal government is going to be as relaxed as it has been about allowing people to come into the country and work in the country, and they're going to be here anyway, it would be good if they could have some sort of system where they had a license to drive that required them to know the rules of the road and have insurance. Because it is a huge irritation to people that people do drive without a license, or they get in an accident and then they flee the scene, or they're afraid. So, you know, we've tried to do some things that would make it a little more livable to be here. As far as actions that the federal government takes or the state government takes that may put fear in people's heart, the locals can't do a whole lot about that. You know, we can try not to make the situation worse, which I don't think we are. I mean, I don't think we are making the situation worse. But as far as people losing their licenses or their cars or their mobile homes or whatever, those are things that are outside our control. And I don't know that there is a lot we can do about that. It's hard to say, come back, don't worry about the federal government or the state government, because we don't control that. So you pose some very, very good questions that just raise more questions, and I don't have all the answers to. I wish I did.